1982, a guy by the name of Buckminster Fuller created something that was called the knowledge doubling curve. And the knowledge doubling curve was based on this idea that the world has this basic knowledge base. That's the average amount of information that the average person knows. Also, like the total amount of information that is known and believed in the world. And Buckminster Fuller in 1982 said that every 100 years or so, up until 1900, the world's knowledge base doubled. But he noticed something different happening as we reached in the 20th century into the age of information. And by the end of World War II, now he found that the world's average knowledge base was doubling every 25 years, so it was accelerating. And by the time 1982 came along, the world's knowledge base, according to him, was now doubling every 13 months at this extraordinary rate. And a lot of researchers, including a study that was just put out by IBM recently, says the world will soon get to the point where the knowledge base, the average amount of information that one person holds in their head is going to double every 12 hours. Now, what that means is we have information flying at us at this extraordinary rate due to our access and connectivity around the world through the internet. What that also means we feel is a natural sense of tentativeness, a vulnerability to commit to anything and anyone because we're scared to make decisions, because we're scared to make wrong decisions. We think there's no chance we could possibly have all of the necessary information to make good and right decisions in our lives. Now, here's the interesting thing for the Christian. In a lot of instances, if you believe that the Bible is your authority, that clears up a lot of the confusion. Because there's X number of things that God makes very black and white. And He commands us, you shouldn't do this or you should do this. And that clears up a number of the decisions. It's about 20% though. There's another 80% of life or so that is what I would call sort of gray area decisions. And these are some of the major decisions that we happen to make in our lives. Really impactful decisions. Where am I going to go to college? What career field am I going to get into? Who am I going to marry? Or am I even going to get married? Is that for me? Those are massive questions that the Bible might not directly address, but there are really good biblical principles that you can use to answer these gray area decisions. And I'm going to give you 4 of them here today that will help you navigate the gray area decisions of life. Principle number 1 is, do you know the biblical principles that pertain to your life circumstance? So even though the Bible doesn't directly speak to and address every decision you might be making in life, it might not tell you what you should do in your professional life. What it does do is it gives you a lot of very clear principles that are timeless truths that people, because they're timeless, can wrestle with in every age. So know what the biblical principles are and be accurate about it, what that surrounds the given decision that you're trying to make. Second principle is pray about it. You might want God to give you kind of this message from the sky, and He might not answer your prayers like that. But a lot of times He does answer prayers, and all of the time when you pray, one of the major things God does is He conditions your heart. He doesn't just get you in your prayer life as an act of dependence on Him to get Him to jump on board with your plans for your life. What it does is prayer conditions your heart to start orbiting around God's perfect will for your life. So what are the biblical principles that pertain to your situation? Are you praying about it? Number 3, are you seeking out advice from fellow Christians who have experience, whose opinion that you respect? This is one of the reasons why God creates the church. He creates it for 1,000 reasons, but one of the blessings is we get objective input. Which is enormously valuable because we all have our blind spots. It's really difficult to be objective to our own life circumstances. So you get opinions from people who are willing to speak truth into your life, and you give them that access into your life. Not to mention, you get the collective wisdom of a group of people in helping you make decisions. The 4th principle that I would say is trust your gut. God created you in His image. He gave you this universal understanding of right and wrong, and He gave you a conscience that's like an alarm system that goes off when you violate that sense of right and wrong. But He also says, fascinatingly and amazingly, that He has put Jesus' Spirit inside of you. What that tells us as Christians is you probably should anticipate that the Spirit is going to give you a sense of movement and direction at various points in life when you have to make decisions. He'll give you some sense of clarification before you make the leap of faith in those decisions. What are the biblical principles? Are you praying about it? Are you seeking out advice from Christians that you trust and respect? And are you sensing the Spirit moving you in a certain direction? If you apply those 4 principles to navigate the gray areas of your life, I guarantee it'll help you push the gospel into every facet of your life.